All right. Hello and welcome to another edition of Tribe of Visionaries. I'm your host, Jason Merritt, along with my co-hosts, Paul Bermingham and Lawrence McKay. And today we have Megan Fitzpatrick. Megan is from Columbia, South Carolina. How are you doing today, Megan?
I am doing well. Thank y'all so much for having me tonight.
Thanks for joining us. So pretty much we do a roundtable on our show each week, and we have different featured guests talk about different subjects. But today we were interested in bringing you on because we see that you're rocking and rolling in the real estate community, and we just wanted to kind of hear about a little bit what you have currently going on and see if you could enlighten us a little bit.
Whew. Well, yes, I have a little bit going on. I have been doing this probably right at maybe 3 years now, maybe a little less. We have some properties, we have some buy and holds that we maybe like 10, I don't know, 10 to 15 years maybe. And, you know, uh, currently have a couple of things I'm finishing up and a couple of things I'm venturing into. So finishing up the No One Left Behind challenge as well. So Lawrence, I hear you when you say you're tired because that thing will yeah, we have a lot going on. I'm really excited about what 2025 holds. I think we're going to start the new year off with a bang. So, yeah, doing a little bit of everything right now while I transition. I'm in a transition phase, but it's an exciting one. So,
On a team and helping a newcomer, or are you working as kind of learning some new things on a team level, or like tell us a little bit about that?
repeat. I'm sorry, Jason, I didn't get that.
No worries. So with the No One Left Behind challenge, are you on a team that's helping somebody, or is a team helping you kind of take you to the next level, or what are you doing with that, I guess?
So I am a closer on the challenge, and I think last month they had it set up a little differently than they do this month. This month it is closers are not assigned to teams, so we are working with pretty much anybody that reaches out to you, and so there's a little bit of organized chaos potentially. Every team's doing things a little bit differently. And so we are bobbing and weaving as people come in and ask for us to get on their Google Drive sheet, which I'm like, I have 15. I cannot get onto everybody's Google Drive. I don't even use Google. I'm just now becoming friends with her. So, it has it's been interesting to say the least. So but I've enjoyed it. I've made some really good contacts along the way, and hopefully we'll get something locked up. So it is obviously a direct to agent type of challenge. So I do love direct to agent. So yeah.
Had you been working with direct to agent prior to the challenge? Were you and your team currently doing that?
Yes, I actually started out. One of my first investors, when I first started 3 years ago, he is an agent. And so I would find deals for him. And so I started in that space. So I didn't really think it was a new space to be in because I would find deals for him all the time. And then he would find my buyer, and we kind of just wheeled and dealed that way all along. So I love agents because it is not a one and done like it is with direct to seller, which I also love. But I do a lot of business with my agents. I'm actually doing a flip with one coming up. So we're getting an inspection done on Wednesday, and that'll be a really fun project for us to do. But I have agents that call me all the time and ask me, like, what do you think about this? And they send me addresses. And it's constant. instead of just that one offer you're going to get with a seller who may have, a portfolio, or they may have one or two properties and then they're done, So, because I'm not in the agent space as far as selling, so I'm not going to go find them other properties. I kind of stay in my lane when it comes to that. So.
Gotcha.
Hey, Megan, so you mentioned you're a closer. Unfortunately, not everybody at home is super savvy in all these avatars. Can you kind of walk us through what that means?
Sure. So a closer is somebody who should be able to speak with an agent or a seller and get something under contract. And so sometimes you have, very rarely, I should say, do you ever have a one call close where you speak with somebody once and you lock up a contract. Has that happened before? Sorry, my dogs are going to get crazy. Deliveries. It has. I have gotten something under contract. Speaking with somebody one time, and oddly enough, it was a Morby method, but it worked out. It actually just closed, I think last week. But yeah, we get things under contract, but we also have to nurture them a little bit. And some closers do that and some closers don't. I've always been in sales, so I'm used to that follow up. But sometimes you're going to have multiple conversations with somebody before you actually get to a contract. So yeah, people send me deals.
What do you think your biggest obstacle is when you talk to a real estate agent for the first time?
I think perception. I think that a lot of agents and a lot of people in sales in general, you're taught to compete, and you're taught that investors are, nasty. Investors come in and they kick people's legs out from under them, and you're not supposed to work with agents in South Carolina. Agents and wholesalers are not supposed to work together, and so there's just a negative connotation, I think, around investors and agents working together. And I'm actually working really hard to change that, at least in our area, because I think there's a wonderful opportunity for agents and investors to work together, because we do different things. And that's what I like to always point out is, what I do, you can't do. And what you do, I'm not going to do, and I shouldn't be doing. So once I explain that to them, we usually hit it off pretty well. So
that's one thing I thought would make you a good guest, was because I saw your post on Facebook speaking about how you loved agents, and that's not very typical of most investors. Myself being an investor and an agent, Paul, you as well. Mm-hmm. We're a rare breed when you have both, but to find one side that actually loves the other, that's more special to me. So.
Yeah.
What I found is most agents don't. They're involved in traditional real estate, and what they don't know, instead of asking more questions and understanding things a little bit more, they typically just say, "Oh, my seller's not," to find out if they're interested in it. So they're not really technically doing their duty and keeping their seller's best interest in mind. They're negotiating on behalf of the agent or on behalf of the seller, which is technically not right. They shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, so it's awesome to hear that you kind of get the similar pushback. So what kind of path are you taking with a lot of these agents to, I guess, kind of educate them a little bit more?
Well, I just come in and explain to them how I can be a tool in their back pocket, really, what they can rely on me for. I send deals to them. They send deals to me. I'm not an agent, therefore they can help me either write contracts up if it's in a state that requires that. I had one today that's like, we submit this on a North Carolina. I was like, I am not an agent. I'm not going to send a North Carolina contract, but you can write it up for me because I am not represented. And so I kind of just present to them, the ways that we can work together. And where I benefit, I'm like, sometimes there's a house that you may not want to list. You may not want your name on that house. You may not want to do the things that really to represent your company on the MLS, you may not want to do that. And they may not have the funds to do all the things that you're going to want them to do. And so we can come in, still get you paid as long as, we go through proper channels for that. But, there are just times when an investor can come in and solve the problem that an agent really has not or cannot.
Yeah, and I know, like Paul, you've been kind of working the same approach with some of these agents, being an agent, and you have people on your team. But a lot of times, what you're finding is once you do one or two deals with these agents, and they see that this can happen, and that they're bringing you multiple opportunities down the road, you become kind of like they're in their back pocket of, hey, I've got a bailout for this horrible listing or situation issue over here.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the biggest things I see in the subject community and throughout creative financing, the quote unquote negative agent, is that people have the perception that the agent is worried about that commission. And I don't really think that's true. I don't think they're worried about that commission. I mean, everybody's got to put bread on the table. But at the end of the day, they're more worried about their reputation and what that looks like for their business down the line. And so once you prove to them that you're going to be taking care of people and you're not going to, as an agent, you don't have to worry about that phone call in 6 months saying the property that they sold is being foreclosed on, or, the house is trashed and now it's being handed back to them with $40,000 worth of damage to it. Those are the kind of things that, sellers and agents, they worry about in these transactions more than, whether it's 5,000 or 7,000. Most agents that are doing business, the people that we want to talk to as investors, they're not the ones who are doing 4 transactions a year. They're the agents who are doing 25 to 50 transactions a year. And those are the people that have volume to bring and actually, provide value to us so that we can provide value back to them, so we can provide value to their sellers. And those people are the ones who actually want to do business with us once they understand we're protecting their business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very much. I have to agree with that. Like most agents are worried about what we can lose our license over versus that commission, right? Because as an agent, and that's one thing that I learned coming from an investor side, was that as an agent, there's so much that you can actually be sued for or get in trouble for, and you don't even have to do anything wrong, right? So we walk on eggshells as agents, and most of us are worried about our reputation or a litigation process or something of that nature. So it's not always about commission, right?
That's why I won't become an agent.
I get that, but that's why there is E&O insurance in case you do happen to do something that actually isn't there, or isn't quite right. But you should always get the seller involved and an attorney involved, and let the legal counsel walk them through it and say, hey, is this legal? Is this not legal? Are we in the right here? And go through that process. And if you do that, you're not only going to educate you're going to help educate the attorney or the agent as well. And, I think people are just going to feel more comfortable once they learn you're not really taught about that kind of stuff in real estate agent school, when you go to get your license. So they kind of have a guidebook of what they go by, and it's one way, one trick pony kind of thing. And that's kind of what they stick to and duplicate over and over again. But the creative agents, the ones who learn how to do more outside the box, are the ones who end up making a lot of money in this industry.
Yeah. You just got to keep in mind that there's an advantage to being in a box, right? And the advantage to being in the box is that at the closing table, it's over. Very rarely after the closing table does a traditional agent who does traditional deals have to worry about anything post-closing. Maybe, like a pipe burst or some material issue with the house, but that's about it. But once you're talking about continuing ties to this property, that's where people start to freak out. So I think that's the perspective that a lot of investors don't understand. And Megan, I know you cracked this one a while ago. You're able to speak to them and kind of understand where they're coming from. But I think a lot of people don't look at it from the perspective of, how can I make sure that I'm finding the bunnies with the agent and not just with the seller?
Yeah. And I think that is the challenge with some of the creative financing, solutions that we can come up with, is because there is no when you are certified, when you are licensed, you have rules that you have to follow. You have to stay within the lane, parameters, all the things. And when you don't have that dictating what you can and cannot do, and you really and truly within the lines of the law, you have to have ethics. You have to live by the golden rule. You have to always follow the law in which the state that governs where the property is, right? And as long as you're doing that, we can create anything. We can literally do anything we want to make the deal work. And an agent can't, they just can't. And so I think that does have something to say. It has a lot to say with about the type of person you are, right? I mean, my agents know if I say I'm going to do something, it might take 6 months, but we're going to get it across the finish line. And we're going to stick through it and we're going to solve the problem. Right. And I think once they know that we're doing everything that we can on our end to safeguard them and safeguard their clients that they're referring to us, that's when they really gain trust. And that's when you gain momentum. And that's when they really start, calling you as a trusted advisor. Like I am advising my agents now. They're like, hey, what do you think about this number? What do you think about? And I'm like, no, I think that's not going to work. Like this is where you need to be. They're like, oh, well then you take it. I'm like, okay. So really it's just, doing the right thing and treating people the right way. And a lot of investors, it also depends on the agent side, when they get their license, where they go. Right. Mm-hmm. So you can have, and we all know this because of where we are with PACE and the community that we have, who you surround yourself with is really where that's who you're going to become. You're going to be like-minded. Right. And so if you go into a brokerage and they are anti, no creative, no substitute, no this, no that, it is this and that is it. Then you're not going. When you get one of our LOIs, you're going to have some pushback with that not because you can't see the value in it, but because somebody over here has told you can't do that. And so we're really kind of reframing, right?
Yeah. That's literally why I left my last brokerage was, I went to the brokerage because they were investor friendly. But at the end of the day, when I went to speak to the broker themselves about what transactions I could conduct or what I couldn't do, it was, hey, no wholesaling, no creative stuff, nothing that puts you as, the man in the middle. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of everything that I do. So, that's why I ended up parking my license. And, it's inactive now, but you're right. The brokerage does matter because I see other agents who go to other brokerages and they flourish because their brokers support what we do. Right? And and it can vary from office to office, state to state, whatever it is. Like Paul, I know you're in a great position. You love where you are. So
yeah, I was actually lucky enough that when we started having these changes going through the legislation for South Carolina's wholesaling, my broker called me up and was like, hey, can you come in and talk to me about your perspective on this? And I was like, what? Why? But yeah, it was pretty cool. I was able to sit there and talk to him. And then some of the feedback that him and some other people who have been in real estate in South Carolina for a long, long time actually went in. And that's how the assignment verbiage that comes later on now that was added right before the law was ratified. That's how the assignment verbiage came to be. So that's how it was put in. But yeah, it definitely 100% matters with the brokerage. I know that we have some sub 2 agents down here in South Carolina that have had to change brokerages because they didn't get the ability to go off and do it. And it's funny that, people on the national level who talk about being supportive of sub 2, even here at the boots on the ground level, they may not be. And then my brokerage, Keller Williams, like one of the biggest in the world, they're like, yeah, my brokerage here on the ground says, Paul, do what you need to do. If you have questions, ask me. Sounds great.
But it's good that your broker was taking the initiative to find out more about it because he knows that he does have agents that are going to do that and participate in that. And, you see a lot of agents that they investing, and you start sending them a contract that's not a traditional state contract, and their head starts spinning. But yeah, so it's definitely something to find a brokerage who aligns with your interests when you go to paint your license somewhere. So you said you've been doing this about 3 years. Were you in real estate before, Megan?
I was not. I was actually, I did medical sales for durable medical equipment and rehab equipment and home accessibility. I did that for 15 and a half years. So I was a liaison between physical therapists and doctors and neurologists and patients who had spinal cord injuries or progressive neurological diseases such as ALS, MS. And we did the high level chairs for them to be independent in their homes. So
is that your crossover story? Is that how you turned from the renovations for people? Is that how you became into real estate?
That is correct. So we're melding all of the things that I've done for the last 15 and a half years and following what my grandmother told me I should do at 15 and go into real estate. Should have listened to her then, but here we are, better late than never. And now I have all of this whole, I have a different perspective when I see a house, right? And not everybody sees through the lens that I see, because everything I look at is accessibility. That's all I care about. I look at it and I think how crazy it is that somebody's going to take something down to the studs and not make it accessible, not just a wheelchair, but for anybody. So universal concepts, universal design concepts is definitely a big thing if you're going to work with me. So.
It's good to know.
Right.
It's really good to know.
Yeah.
Has there been any projects you've been working on lately that are really exciting to you that, kind of opened your eyes and inspired you in a lot of ways?
Well, yes, actually. So I've often pondered about the co-living, affordable housing, all of that. How can we do better? How can we be part of a solution that is a problem that's not going to be solved, right? Government's not solving it. So we as investors can come in and provide solutions for that. And I am my biological father, who's actually in South Carolina. Literally tomorrow, I am moving him into an assisted living facility, and it will cost roughly $6,000+ a month for him, one person, for him to be in this facility. And so my wheels just start turning, and I'm like, okay, well, I knew in 2025 I really wanted to start some group homes and have a better solution for those that were already challenged with having affordable housing. Now I see a whole different level of need for people who they can't afford that. I mean, he can, thankfully, but some people cannot. And so I talked with one lady, and she's dealing with the same thing with her aunt, and she's going into a facility that's $650 a month. And so there's a huge gap there, right? And so I am like, automatically, I'm like, okay, I have to solve this problem, because there's a gap in the marketplace of a segment that's not being serviced, right? You either have the money or you don't. And where do you go if your family can't bring you into their home, right? It's not accessible. It's not, or all the things. It doesn't just have to be accessibility, but this one in particular happens to be because he needs assistance, 24-hour assistance. So we're going to ramp up that group living, co-living, and I want to roll some out here in the next couple of months. So I am pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of working on a new construction one here in my town. We just demoed the house, so we're going to be doing 8 bedrooms, 8 baths.
Make it accessible.
And yeah, that definitely
will charge you.
Not focusing on the memory care aspect of stuff, but just the assisted living side of stuff. There is a huge demand for it. When a lot of people are on fixed income and they only have Medicare or Medicaid to pay for something like that, you're getting at like some of these places that covers they're very depressing, and the quality of life is not that great.
Yeah.
Looking on the low end, say $5,000 a month on up to, I know some people that are paying in the like over $10,000 a month, depending on the quality of the accommodations. But a big move happened actually during COVID, where a lot of people stopped moving into the facilities, and they started getting a la carte and home care. And that's something that Medicare, Medicaid could cover and pay for. And if you create a co-living model where people are only paying, say ballpark $1,000 a month for all their utilities and everything else, and they have Medicare, Medicaid that's coming in and covering, somebody cooking, cleaning, and making sure they're taking their prescriptions. It makes it affordable for them, and they have their own room. They're with other people, and you can, have somebody come in, decorate it, and make it family friendly and things like that. So it's definitely a model and a niche model that I think you're going to see grow, not only for that, but for other segments as well. When we were doing Sub 2 Gives Thanks last year for Thanksgiving, I met the director of the shelter here, and she was talking about how they had a lot of elderly women that were moving into the shelter because their husbands had passed away. So they had lost another stream of Social Security or whatever that was coming in, and they couldn't afford to live on their own with the current rental rates that were out there. So there's definitely a market and a drive for that's emerging more and more every day.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to be part of that push in the marketplace. Because, Columbia is not that big. We're very small city, metro. But in the larger cities, I feel like it's a blue sea, and if you do it the right way, I think there's a lot of potential for growth because housing's not going anywhere. So one thing you need a place to live. So laundries and housing, they're always going to be there. So,
What markets are you and your team currently working in or focused on?
Well, I do Columbia. One of the teams I'm on, we do Charleston market. We dabble in Florida. But as far as buying and holding, I've really just been in Columbia.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah. But this No One Left Behind challenge, I'm everywhere.
You cannot be
I'm
everywhere.
surprised I haven't had anything from Alaska yet. I'm going to put it on my list.
Talk to Jesse Stanton.
Okay. I'm good. But yes, I will.
He's on Alaska.
Okay.
Awesome. You said you just recently had that deal close. I don't know if that's what you want to talk about or not, but what would be the most interesting thing that you've been involved with in real estate lately?
Interesting?
Or just really excited you?
I think we just talked about it. I'm excited about the potential, for the last couple of years, I've bought some properties. We did the BRRRR strategy, which let's not even start that. We'll have to have a whole nother podcast for that. So we did things the way we thought that it needed to be done, right? And oh my gosh, who wants to see $200 in cash flow every month? Who's excited about that? I am not, because that's not going to pay for AC when it breaks.
I'll take it.
No, it's got to be pure cash flow, though. See, people always talk about cash flow, and it's false cash flow. You can't take monthly income minus PITI and be like, that's my cash flow. No.
No.
See, that goes back to the education that we were talking about.
Repairs, CapEx, all that good stuff. Vacancies.
Right. And so everybody wants to go into the multifamily space, right? That's great. Go have your 100 doors. Go for it. I'm going to stay in my single family space, and I'm going to look at the house, and I'm going to recreate that house and chop it and dice it up and recreate different living spaces, rooms. How many bedrooms can I get? And then that way I'm not going to have to be so, when somebody's not paying their rent, it's coming out of our pocket, that one person. So if we have multiple people in a house paying that rent, or we have government who's paying for that rent, we have multiple streams of income and potential for collectively to cash flow way more than one family. I don't care if you're Section 8, I don't care if you're a single family, just traditional. You're never going to cash flow the way you are if you're charging by the room, ever. So why not kill two birds with one stone? Increase the profit potential while you're obviously being a solution within your community, right? Because it's there everywhere. So I'm super excited about that. It's been coming for a while, and now it's just like, okay, how many stories are there, personal stories that really they were the catalyst of what started, right? And so I just feel like this is definitely the direction I'm moving in. Sober living, obviously, I have some roots there as well. And 2025, definitely, I would say I would like to have 5 by the end of 2025.
5 co-living.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And
Question for before we move on to anything else. How many bathrooms would you say you need for, say, 4 bedrooms?
I would say you need at least 1.5. If I can do it if I have the option, right, I'm going to I want one. I mean, it depends on the level of care. It depends on what you're doing, right? Because if you have in-house staff, you have to have their own bathroom. There are laws about that, right? So you have to, it depends on what your niche is for that particular home. So the more bathrooms you can do, the better. But I mean, minimum for a 4-bedroom, you need to have 1.5 baths, right? Because it's not the full bath that governs. It's just a bath. So if you have a half a bath, then you just opened yourself up for some more people in that house, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And who wants to share a bathroom with that many people? Again, golden rule, right?
Yeah. I'm a member of Sam Wiegert's community as well, and his rule of thumb is 3 for every 3 bedrooms, at least 1 bathroom. And then obviously, if you have your own bathroom, you can get a higher rate, things like that. So 3 per 3 bedrooms per 1 full bathroom. Yeah, it's not optimal, but it works. And anything more than that, it just too many people trying to use the bathroom, get ready for work, do whatever. It may not work if you have people on the same schedules. So your primary, I mean, you're interested in co-living, but your primary idea is to take on the assisted living model more than anything.
No, I mean, I'm not going to box myself into that. I think co-living is where it's at. And because I have accessibility in the back of my mind always anyway, I could literally have somebody who just needs to be in a wheelchair could move into one of my homes once that gets going, because my home's accessible for everyone. It doesn't matter what your level is. You could be a veteran that needs to be sober that's also in a wheelchair. You can come into one of my homes. You can be that person minus all, it really doesn't matter. I'm not going to just box myself into one niche for that, because I want to help women. I want to help men. I want to help people who are trying to stay sober. I want to help those that, can't afford the $6,000 a month, which is ridiculous. Assisted living cost, right? I want to help so many different types of people. I'll have a house for everyone, y'all. It's going to be awesome.
So that brings up a really good point. Now that you're saying that, it almost sounds like you don't want to put yourself in a box for the investment type for co-living, right? Any co-living type that might work. But what about that property or the house? Is there any specific criteria that's like, these are non-negotiables? I will not buy a house that does not have.
If I'm buying it, if it's a deal and it has like, I have awesome 1-bedroom duplexes right now. The rooms are huge. could totally put 2 bed. Like it's taken everything I have, Jackson Pierce, to not just keep them all, right? Because you could put 2 beds in each room because they're that big, right? So I don't want to get caught up in the minutia of it doesn't have this many bedrooms, because I can throw a wall up, right? As long as you are abiding by the square footage requirement per person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can have another wall. So I had I wouldn't say recently, we purchased a home. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and I reworked the floor plan and did not add any square footage to the home and created a 4-2. So I turned a 2-bedroom into a 4-bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So unless I see the space, I'm not going to discount it, because that space could be reconfigured very easily. But I would say the more bedrooms, the better, right? If I can go into a 4-bedroom, that's ideal, especially if there's additional square footage that's really not being utilized, right? But I would say I typically don't look at 1-bedrooms. It has to really catch me for me to look at it for that, especially for this purpose, right?
For me, it was more like, hey, this 3-story house, boom, 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 right? Like, how difficult would that
Throw
be?
an elevator in it.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Stack your closets.
Problem solving.
Megan's like, no, I'm not going to believe there's a problem. No. We're gonna
I used to do VPLs and stuff for the VA, right? So I would have like these 20-foot VPLs, which is a vertical platform lift. You probably see them, especially if you live at the beach. They're these metal cages that are outside of people's homes. I used to do those. So wow. I don't see barriers. I remove them from people's houses. That's what I do when I come into a space. I'm like, okay, slice and dice. This is what we need to do. Widen this, widen that. And I just have to plan for that, right? So if I have something that's 5 steps into a home and I know that it's going to be a certain type of home, or I know I'm going to want somebody to always know they can access it, maybe I don't build it in immediately, but I can let the case manager, I can let whomever know, listen, if you have somebody that needs this, everything else is accessible. You let me know, and we will get a stair lift, we will get a VPL, we will get whatever we need to do, because there's tax credits for that, right? So why not do that?
Everything you're saying, I have this product in Hanahan I just started, and it's on the books, 2,030 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick ranch. However, the only reason I bought the house was because behind the attached garage, under the main portion of the roof and on top of the main foundation, is a 380 square foot workshop that is now going to be a second primary suite. And then I'm taking another, 200 to 250 square feet out of the garage to build a laundry room and an attached 10 by 8 walk-in closet for that new primary bedroom. But all of that to say this, it's a single story brick ranch. I would love, if you were going to be in Charleston anytime in the near future, to have you walk that house and just slap me and be like, Paul, do this instead.
Don't do it. Yes, I would love to. I will come see my Charleston team. No problem. When do you need me?
Hashtag meet up on the 7th.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no time.
Yeah. Charleston has a meetup every first Saturday of every month.
Okay. Noted.
Either way, I'm going to send some videos and some pictures so you can take a look at it.
Please.
Just tell me your thoughts. That'd be awesome. 2,700 square feet when I'm done. ARV 600,000.
Okay. I love it.
With everything you have going on, Megan, where do you find your inspiration for like continued personal growth, or areas that you're focused on in your business and looking to grow or expand?
I mean, every day is a school day for me. I literally wake up every morning and I have something in my ears. I'm learning something, whether it's sales calls, whether my husband makes fun of me all the time. He's like, really, Pace, this early? I mean, it's 5. I'm like, pause, sorry. So I'm always looking for opportunities to get better at what I do and learn. I do deep dives all the time. If I get stuck on something, I'll go find it in the vault and I will just replay it until I figure it out. And so I think my brain just works that way. So I don't sit idle ever. I don't take naps. My grandmother used to say you can sleep when you're dead. So I am always doing something to learn, because there's so many different avenues that you can take in what we do, right? And some people would call it shiny object. I call it process of elimination. I have tried this and this and this, knowing this is in the back of my mind. I'm going to eventually end up here. And, as long as you just stay on the path, eventually you're going to get where you're going. Right. And so in order to get there, you have to learn, and you have to be willing to adapt and pivot and keep going, because it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. It is not an easy thing that we do every day. So
yeah, fail forward is definitely a good motto.
Fall on your back.
I constantly try to do it on a personal level as well, not only within my business, but be able to take and self-reflect on things that I could use improvement on as an individual, and try to work on those things as well. But
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, Megan, I have to say, after listening, like, you have a reputation in the community as a closer, right? It's a great reputation. Everybody loves Megan.
Thank you.
So I heard about you long before I met you. And after I met you, like, we had our first conversation, then I understood. But hearing this conversation now, which is, even more in depth, I really get it, right? That you're just wired different. You're wired different. And I believe, like, you are the epitome of what, like, we should all kind of strive to do. Like, you're focused on.
Don't make me ruin my makeup.
Right, but
So
I mean,
sweet.
like, you embody what we look for in a community member, right? Like, you're the type of person that we want to partner with, that we want to grow with, that we want to connect with. So, thank you for coming and sharing. This has been amazing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about you just being here listening. So this is
Well, I think for me, one of the key takeaways is that Megan her key thing was, I want to help people, and it's not necessarily helping other people with a deal or this or that, but her in person, she wants to help them. And whether it's the person moving into the home, the person selling the home. And I think that that's crucial. I think if you help other people achieve what they need and what they want, that, naturally things are going to evolve for you.
Yep. 100%.
Shows a lot about your character too. Definitely.
Thank you. I mean, we don't always get it right, but as long as you do the right thing, if you don't have that instilled in you, because there's situations every day that you could go, well, maybe you could do that. No, you cannot. You have, that is a line that you just can't cross. Your ethics have to be the most important thing, and you may not make it up. You may have to work it out eventually, right? But you're gonna work it out. You're gonna make it right. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that, and eventually people understand when you say something, you mean it, right? I mean, none of us have timetables. None of us have crystal balls. We can't always. If we can make every deal work the way it's supposed to work, y'all, we would, like, not only rule the world, we would all be on jets and doing everything we want to do. It doesn't work that way. Projects go bad, projects go south, projects very rarely finish on time, right? Very rarely. But the more you do, the more you learn. And at the end of the day, as long as you're doing right by others, you'll be okay. Right? And don't give up. Don't give up. And embrace your community, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah, we have great leaders within the community, and you can tell the ones that are great are the ones that are always helping people. And I think they shine the brightest, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they didn't start out there. They may have started out with the mindset, but everybody's had to learn. Everybody's had to get to where they are. You don't just evolve immediately, right? So go back and listen to Caroline King, like one of her first calls. They are so adorable. And now look at her, right? I mean, I love when I catch one, I'm not paying attention to the time frame, and I'm just listening, and I'm like, I know that voice. What? And then the things that she says, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cute. I mean, look at her now. Gosh, love her. So
She's got great energy.
yes, I
She
love
is like a
it.
ton of bricks, man. She is like puts herself with a ton of bricks.
She's funny too. She's hilarious. I love listening to Caroline.
Mm-hmm. But that's part of the evolution. Like she didn't start where she is. She just didn't stop, right? She just kept going. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's all. It takes a lot. It does. The courage and the will and the drive. But as long as you don't stop, you'll be fine.
Or you look at people like Kevin Cho. I mean, like Pace tells a story all the time and how he had to like threaten to kick Kevin out of stuff too because he wasn't taking any action or doing anything. And now Kevin's like posting his own, his own little
Oh, to be Kevin.
all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's awesome.
Yes. Kevin, I don't know him personally, but I feel like I do. How old is he? Like 20 something?
Yeah, he's in his early. I think he's like 24 maybe now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's glorious. Glorious to be that age. I mean, good for him. If you want to talk about the cards stacking up and just being like, if you don't do this, you are crazy. You've got Pace literally taking you to dinner. You have all these things that being like, here, just do it. Just do it, little bird. So he had to fly because, oh my gosh, if not, what else was he going to do? Could you imagine if he hadn't and he had to look back on that and be like, what was I thinking? So yeah, I cannot wait to see what that guy does. He's just amazing. I mean,
Pace said something the other night on family night that I thought was actually pretty cool and hit home, but he was telling a story about how he used to have his little side hustle and, basically he had some guy bringing this huge project and he didn't know how he was going to do it. And he was in a sense, he was talking about how he used to, in the evenings when he was done working, he would find jobs for like, say, painting on Craigslist and for like $1,000. And then he had another guy that he would basically bring in and do it for $800 so he could make $200 on it. And the guy brought him like 15, one guy brought him a deal and it was supposed to be like 15 houses, paint 15 houses a week for like, I don't know, 5-6 years, whatever it was. It was like this huge contract. And he was like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can handle that. And he said the guy basically kind of was like, are you in business to say yes or are you in business to say no? And he was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he kind of went through. He was like, everybody always tells me no. And it kind of gave him that push. And he was like, okay, fine, I'll make it happen. And like all the things that spawned off of that transaction, the amount of money that he made, having somebody else do it, and how it bettered his business because it gave him the ability to, free up cash flow to scale his business. And then, that it had on somebody, the person who was actually doing the painting, like where it took their business, and I kind of thought about that. And I was like, you say a lot, people say no because they're intimidated or, they're scared to take that leap. And even starting this, like doing the podcasting that, I never thought I'd be doing podcasting. It was intimidating, but I joined a challenge and started doing it. And it becomes more natural. Like it's not that big of a deal for me anymore.
Right. And look at all the people you've met.
Yeah, you meet a lot of people. You have a lot of fun and you get great conversations. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's just like when they say, don't not get it under contract, right? Get it under contract, find the money, find the buyer. Don't just not do it because you don't have the money and you don't have the buyer.
Yeah.
That's the same concept with what you were talking about with Pace, right? Like, well, I can't do that. Well, yes, you can. Just do it. Just do it and keep doing it.
And if you don't know how, reach out to somebody who can help take you by the hand and walk you down that path. Because there's a lot of people that get into the community and want to get into real estate investing, and they'll be in the community for 2-3 years and they've never even done a deal before. And so reach out, go to the communities, go to the meetups, and start talking to people, and put yourself out there. Eventually, it'll become more natural, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I have a friend who he was part owner of a fitness club. I guess we'd call it a gym, cycling gym. And it just got shut down because the main owner decided they didn't want to do it anymore. And so he and his wife wanted to go start their own business. We talked for a little bit, and I said, hey, have you gone and talked to all the small little local, gyms and cycling studios and offered to buy any of them? And he said, no. And I said, okay. So we talked about the baby boomers, and we talked about the aging business owners, and we talked about all those things. And then he said, okay, but I don't know how to do any of that. And I said, who do you hang out with? And he just stopped. And I was like, who do you hang out with who does what you want to do? And he couldn't name one. Couldn't name one person he spent time with who does what he wants to do, who knows how to invest in real estate, who knows how to own businesses, who knows how to. Sometimes it's just surround yourself with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah, Keston, I get some coaching from Keston, but he was saying one of the things that he does is, while he's at the gym or the gym that he goes to, he always finds like the older guys that have been, that are like 20 years older than him, that are physically in shape and doing it. And he starts getting to know these guys because he wants to know, how are you maintaining this? Like, what do you do for a living? Like, where's your mindset at? And, these people have a lot to offer and they're willing to share things. You just have to get to know them a little bit and start talking to them.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. Well, Megan, I don't want to keep you all day, but we really thank you for coming on here. If people have a deal that may work for you, is there any way anybody can get a hold of you on social media or anything like that?
They can reach out to me. They can email me. I am on Facebook, but 2025, I'm going to get better at that social media. I'm going to hire somebody to do it for me.
There you go.
What's the best way for them to contact you? Do you have an email that you can put out there or no?
Yes, they can reach me at megan@nextplaceproperties.info. And they can also find me on Facebook, Megan Fitzpatrick, and message me. And I'll not put my cell phone out there, but
no Instagram, no Twitters.
I just said 2025 is going to be my year for that. I'm on Instagram.
We'll put that in the show notes later on then.
Okay. Thank you. I'm on Instagram, but that is not my primary platform yet.
Yeah, technology keeps changing. I used to be pretty tech savvy, but it keeps changing so much. Like I have a hard time keeping up with it anymore. The social media, it seems like there's a new one out every other day now.
Yeah. Full transparency. The only thing that's on my Instagram is something that's been shared directly from Facebook. Because there's a little button you can click. Yeah, exactly. And I don't even know this new X thing. So apparently that's Twitter. I don't know. We'll all figure it out together.
Awesome.
Oh, man.
All right.
I don't even know. Now I'm going to have to go Google it.
Well, thanks again for being on, Megan. You have yourself a great weekend. We really appreciate it. And then we got to know a lot more about you. We're going to actually be planning another community camp probably sometime in the spring. So hopefully Carolina camp. Oh,
yeah.
We'll get together and make it bigger than it was last year. Had a lot of fun last year. But all right, well, if you guys like the show, please like us or subscribe down below. And until then, we'll see you all soon.